Hello everyone. Tonight, we are traveling back in time, far beyond the glow of your smartphone and the flicker of your desk lamp, to a place where the sky was alive and the gods well. They had better things to do than scroll through endless cat memes. The world of Sumer, where Anu, the sky god, sat high above the clouds, his eyes fixed on the dusty earth below. You shuffle along the cold floor of your own room, wondering what it would be like to be up there, perched on a throne made of starlight and thunder. Anu doesn't bother with velvet cushions. He prefers the raw majesty of an endless horizon. His throne is carved from the shimmering edge of the firmament itself, each star a glimmering scale in the tapestry of night. Anu doesn't speak much. His voice is the hush of the wind at midnight, the sigh of the desert sand shifting under the moonlight. And yet tonight, you feel his gaze settle on you, like a weightless blanket, comforting, but also reminding you that nothing escapes his notice. Not your half-finished laundry pile, not your tendency to get lost in thought, and certainly not the prayers of those dusty Sumerian priests from millennia ago. The air smells of burnt resin and cool stone. Down below, priests chant your name, their voices muffled by the distance but no less urgent. They stand in towering ziggurats, stacking baked bricks upon dreams, each tier a step closer to your sky-bound throne. You can almost hear the rasp of their breath as they haul offerings up those stairs. Baskets of barley bowls of sweet beer, hoping you'll notice, maybe even care. Historians still debate whether Anu was a remote figure or deeply involved in mortal affairs. Some say he watched in silent amusement. Others claim he was the ultimate judge, meting out justice with every flicker of lightning in the sky. You, though, well, you suspect he was both. Silent, yes, but with the kind of silence that listens to everything. Above your head, the stars are so close you can smell the tang of ozone. A shooting star streaks across the velvet dome, and you imagine Anu's finger tracing that path, sketching out destinies like a bored artist doodling in the margins. He's seen it all: the rise and fall of empires, the petty squabbles of mortal kings, the quiet love of farmers under the fig trees. Nothing is too small, nothing too grand. You wonder if he ever gets tired of it all, or if the endless panorama of human struggle and celebration is like an old storybook he can't quite put down. After all, who wouldn't want to see how this particular chapter turns out? Oh, but here's a fun fact to keep you from dozing off too soon. An ancient Sumer crocodile poop was apparently prized for its supposed medicinal properties. Don't worry, I promise Anu never had to deal with that nonsense. He had bigger things to think about, like whether the river should flood, or if a certain king was getting a little too big for his bronze britches. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and the time it is for you. Right now, I'd love to know how the world sounds from where you're listening. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You sit upon the sky throne, and you watch. The night stretches out like a scroll, each twinkling star a word in a poem older than the oldest king. Below, the plains of Sumer lie still, but not quiet. From the ziggurats rise voices thin and reedy, carried on the night wind. Their words blur together in a river of longing and fear. Anu, Lord of the sky, hear us. You hear them, always. You lean forward just a little, to better hear the voices that drift upward. The prayers of mortals are fragile things, threads spun from hope and desperation. Tonight they rise like incense, curling in the cold night air. Each one a tiny flame flickering against the darkness. You can taste them almost. Each syllable carries a hint of barley, and salt of sweat, and trembling faith. Their words blend into a lullaby of human need, pleas for rain, for harvests, for sons who will outlive the fathers and daughters, who will bring honor to their homes. You know the cadence well. It's the same melody. Generation after generation, mortal hearts singing to the endless sky. Some of them speak your name with reverence, others with fear. And you, Anu, you listen to it all, your vast ears tuned to the smallest murmur. The gentle hush of a farmer's breath as he kneels in a muddy field. The sharp wail of a mother clutching her dying child. Each one a note in your symphony. The scent of earth is strong tonight. Down below, the fields are heavy with summer's promise, but the river runs low and the people worry. Their worries are like the rustle of dry grass, soft but insistent. You can almost feel the crackle of the cracked earth under their feet. Historians still debate whether these prayers shaped the fate of Sumer, or if they were just echoes in the wind. But you know the truth, every word has weight. Every whisper is a choice, a thread in the great tapestry that even you must respect. You shift in your throne of cloud and starlight, letting the murmurs wash over you. It's easy to forget how small they are, these mortals who raise mud brick temples in your name. Easy, but you never do. You see the sweat on their brows as they haul baskets of clay to build your shrines. You see the trembling of hands lighting flickering lamps that burn through the night. A priest steps out from the shadows, his voice trembling but clear. Anu, Father of the sky, grant us your favor. His hands are raw from pulling reeds, his knees stained with dust. He raises his arms, and you feel the weight of it. Of all those nights he's knelt here, offering himself up to you, like an unspoken promise. And then there are the children with wide eyes peeking from behind their mother's robes. They don't understand the weight of your name yet, but they feel it like the hush before a storm. You see them clutching carved wooden amulets, fingers tight around little images of you, tiny Anus Sky Father in miniature. It's almost enough to make you smile, if gods truly smile. A woman's voice breaks through the chorus, soft as a lullaby. Anu, watch over my son. Let him see another spring. It's a simple wish, one you've heard countless times, but tonight it lingers in your mind, echoing in the empty spaces between stars. Here's an odd little aside for you. Did you know the Sumerians believed the sky was a great vault of stone, set with glowing gems? Imagine that each star, a precious jewel hammered into the ceiling by some divine mason. Maybe that's what it feels like to them, lying on their backs at night, staring up at your kingdom of light. You let the voices rise and fall, a gentle tide that laps at the edges of your mind. They don't know you're listening, merely listening. To them, you're distant and silent, a story passed from father to son, a name whispered in the dark. But you're here, always. The wind shifts, and with it comes a new voice, deeper and stronger. Anu, if we have sinned, let us atone. If we have failed, show us the way. The words are heavy with regret, like the slow crack of ice in a winter river. You hear the rustle of the priest's robe, the trembling of his breath. You wonder if he realizes how close you are, how his words reach beyond the stars. It's a long night, and the voices never stop. They rise and fall, a lullaby of longing, a hymn to a sky that never answers, except you do. Not with thunder or lightning, not with the roar of a god's voice, but with the patient hush of eternity. You watch them, Anu, from your throne of wind and cloud. You watch, and you listen, and you wait. Tonight the air feels different. There's a tension like the low hum of bees in summer. In the sky above the ziggurats, you gather the gods around you. One by one, they flicker into being, each a shimmer of power and personality, each carrying the scent of eternity on their breath. They take their places in the great assembly hall of the sky. The floor is paved with cloud stuff, the walls etched in the silent runes of creation. No mortal eyes can see this place. No mortal ears can hear the debates that rage here. But you, Anu, you see everything. You see the weight of every ambition, every secret grudge hidden beneath the polite words. The gods are restless tonight. Their voices rise and fall like the wind over the plains, each trying to outshine the other. Inanna, fierce and radiant, stands with her head held high, her words dripping honey and steel. Enlil, your stormy air scowls like a gathering storm, his eyes flashing with the promise of thunder. You rest your hand on the arm of your throne, the sky itself rippling at your touch. You listen. Always listen. The gods argue over the mortal's prayers who deserves which city should flourish, which should be swallowed by the river's wrath. Historians still debate whether these debates were mere theater or if they truly shaped the world below. You, of course, know the answer, a little of both. The assembly is a dance part, drama part decision. Each word is a ripple that will become a wave, each gesture a spark that might blaze into war. You watch them, Anu, the way a parent might watch squabbling children. Amused, perhaps, but also cautious. Power, after all, is a fire that can burn even the hand that holds it. A servant god. Little more than a flicker of light brings you a bowl of sweet beer. The scent of it is rich and warm, laced with the memory of barley and rain. You dip a finger in the foam tracing idle circles. It's an old habit, one you've had since the first dawn. Even the sky god has his comforts. You lean back, and your voice, soft as mist, cuts through the cacophony. Enough. The word hangs in the air, heavy as a thunderhead. Silence falls like snow. The gods turn to you. Their quarrels paused in mid-breath. You see the flicker of fear in their eyes, though they would never admit it. You are the sky, Anu, and they are but echoes of your will. Here's a strange fact for you to chew on while you sip your tea. The Sumerians believed that the gods' debates could be read in the patterns of the stars. Every shift in the constellations was a whisper of divine argument. Maybe that's why mortals gaze at the night sky, searching for the secrets you never quite reveal. In this moment of hush, you see the truth of them all. Inanna's fire, Enlil's storm, the quiet shadows of the lesser gods. They are pieces of you, children of your breath. You feel a pang of, not regret exactly, but a longing. Even the sky can feel lonely. Let them speak, you murmur. The words are barely more than a breath, but they ripple through the assembly like a warm breeze. One by one, the gods raise their voices again, more measured this time. They speak of harvests and wars of rivers that must be tamed, and fields that must be blessed. They speak of mortals, those fragile creatures of mud and dreams. You hear every word, and as you listen, you wonder, are the mortals so different from the gods? Or are the gods just mortals who never learn to die? The night deepens, and the stars wheel slowly overhead. The assembly goes on, each word a bead in an endless rosary of power and pride. You watch them, Anu, and you weigh each word, because every prayer, every quarrel, every breath is part of your sky. And tonight, the sky is restless. The wind changes, and with it, the mood of the gathering shifts. The voices of the gods grow hushed as the first distant rumble rolls across the sky. You know what's coming more than just the storm clouds that gather on the horizon. It's your will taking shape, a quiet warning that even the sky can lose its patience. Down below, the people of Sumer huddle in doorways and under thatched roofs. The air is thick with the smell of wet earth and coppery thunder, a scent as old as the world itself. You feel their unease like a shiver running through the fabric of the night. The first drop of rain is gentle, almost tender. It falls on the cracked earth like a lover's sigh. But soon, the rain becomes a chorus. Each drop a note in a melody of power. You watch it, Anu, the way a painter might watch the first stroke of color on a blank canvas. It's beautiful in its own way. Destructive, but beautiful. Historians still debate whether these tempests were natural or divine. Was it the warm breath of summer colliding with winter's last gasp? Or was it your silent fury made manifest? You know the answer, of course. The line between nature and the divine is thinner than the edge of a sickle. The priests are out in the rain now, their white robes clinging to their thin bodies. They lift their hands to the sky, water streaming down their faces like tears. Anu, they cry, voices swallowed by the wind. Father of the heavens, show us mercy. Their prayers rise and fall with the rhythm of the storm. Each word a drop of faith in the endless ocean of your gaze. You lean forward, your breath mingling with the gusts that sweep across the fields. The rain tastes of iron and memory. You remember other storms, other nights when the rivers rose up in rage and the plains vanished beneath muddy waves. Mortals call it tragedy. You call it renewal. Here's an odd little fact for you. While you listen to the rain, ancient Sumerians believed that the rivers were the veins of the earth, and floods were the earth's way of cleansing itself. A little like you clearing your throat when someone's droning on in a meeting. Sometimes you just need to let it all out. Lightning forks across the sky, a brief flash that carves the darkness in two. For a moment, the world is as bright as noon, and you see everything. The trembling priests, the huddled children, the stubborn farmers who refuse to leave their fields. Even as the floodwaters creep closer, the gods watch with you. Inanna's eyes glisten with curiosity. She always did love a bit of chaos. Enlil's mouth is set in a grim line, thunder rolling in his chest. And you're calm. Because this is how the world has always been, creation and destruction, birth and death woven together in the endless dance of time. The rain drums harder now, a wild percussion that fills the air. You feel the rivers stirring in their beds, restless as serpents. You could stop it, of course. With a single breath, you could calm the winds and quiet the sky. But you don't. Not yet. Because this storm isn't just about washing away the dust and the chaff. It's about reminding mortals, and perhaps even the gods, that everything in this world is fleeting. And that's what makes it precious. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the storm sing to you. In the patter of rain on stone, you hear the heartbeat of the world. In the rumble of thunder, you hear your own voice, ancient and endless. And for a moment, you feel a strange kind of peace. The priest's voices rise again, a chorus of supplication. Anu, calm the waters. Anu, spare us. Their words are ragged with fear and faith, a blend that tastes like sweet beer and river mud. You let them sing. Because even in the storm, their prayers are beautiful, fragile, and defiant, like lotus blooms in the flood. You watch the rain fall, and you wait. Because every storm must end, and every dawn must break. But tonight, the tempest is yours, Anu, and it sings your name to the world. The rain has not yet ended, but in its rhythm you hear a new melody, a voice rising above the rush of water and the drumbeat of thunder. It is Inanna, your granddaughter, and her voice is as bright as the dawn that follows the longest night. You watch her as she steps forward in the assembly of the gods, her silver crown catching the flickering glow of the storm. She does not flinch from the rain that soaks her hair, nor the wind that tugs at her veil. Inanna, goddess of love and war, is no stranger to storms. She is the storm, fierce and radiant. Anu, she calls her words clear as chimes in the hush between thunderclaps. Father of the sky, listen to me. Her voice carries a note of song, a thread of tenderness woven through the steel. She speaks for her people, for the farmers who kneel in the flooded fields, for the mothers who cradle sleeping children, and whisper your name in the dark. Historians still debate whether Inanna's pleas ever truly softened your heart, or if she was simply playing her part in the endless dance of power. But you know better. There's something in her voice, a sweetness that even you cannot ignore. It curls around you like incense, gentle and insistent. Let the rivers rest, she says, her eyes meeting yours in the shifting night. Let the earth breathe once more. Around her the other gods watch in silence. Enlil frowns, arms crossed over his broad chest, and you can almost hear his unspoken doubts. But Inanna stands firm, her small frame unbending against the weight of divine judgment. You lean forward in your throne, the sky rippling with your breath. The rain slows for a moment, as if the storm itself pauses to listen. You see the mortals below their heads bowed in silent hope. They do not see the goddess who stands for them, but they feel her voice in the hush of the wind and the gentle touch of rain on their skin. Here's an odd fact to lighten the mood. Did you know that Sumerian priests believed Inanna's tears could turn to pearls when they touched the earth? Imagine that jewels of sorrow sparkling among the barley stalks. Mortals always did find beauty in tragedy. You let Inanna's words wash over you like the rain. In her voice you hear echoes of your own doubts and your own longing. You wonder, as you always do, if the gods are so different from the mortals they claim to rule. You wonder if your silence has become a kind of cruelty, if the sky's endless patience is just another way of turning away. The wind sighs, and you feel the weight of her plea. Inanna does not beg, she sings. Her words are a melody of hope, threading through the chaos of the storm. And though you have seen empires rise and fall, though you have watched the rivers carve their paths again and again tonight, her song lingers in your mind. The other gods shift restlessly, their voices caught in their throats. Enki meets your gaze, a flicker of understanding in his sea-green eyes. Even Enlil, proud and unyielding, seems to soften under the weight of Inanna's song. You take a breath long and deep, like the quiet before the dawn. The rain does not stop, but it gentles, turning from fury to blessing. You let Inanna's words guide the storm, shaping it into a promise instead of a punishment. You do not speak. There is no need. Your silence is an answer, and Inanna knows it. She bows her head, her lips curved in a smile that is both triumph and gratitude. And as the thunder fades into the distance, you watch her with something like pride, because even the sky Anu cannot help but listen to the voice of the goddess who sings of love and mercy. And tonight her song is enough to soothe even the restless heart of the storm. The rain has slowed to a soft drizzle, the kind that seeps into the skin and lingers like a ghost. In the flickering light of dawn, you step down from your sky throne. Not as Anu, Lord of the heavens, but as a traveler, one who has always been curious about the fragile lives that flicker below. You weave yourself a body from mist and memory, a lean figure, draped in a plain woolen cloak and as dusted with river silt eyes that reflect the shimmer of distant stars. You do this not out of boredom, but out of something closer to longing. Because even a god can grow weary of watching from afar. You walk among them, these mortals who have carved their lives from clay and hope. The smell of wet earth fills your lungs, rich and raw, and the wind carries the scent of barley bread baking in communal ovens. You pass a woman kneeling in the threshold of her home, smoothing wet hair from her child's forehead. She does not see you for what you are. To her, you are just another wanderer, one more soul caught in the shifting tides of fortune. Historians still debate whether Anu ever truly walked the earth, or if this was just a dream of mortals, a wish woven into the stars. You know better. You feel the rough cobbles beneath your feet, the gentle brush of rain on your face. You are here, and for this moment, that is enough. You pause by a doorway, watching a boy chase a reed ball across the slick stones, his laughter bright as copper. The world feels small from here, and in its smallness, it is achingly beautiful. Every cracked jar and soot-stained wall tells a story. Every whispered prayer is a thread binding you to them, even as you pretend you do not belong. Here's a curious little aside to keep you company. The Sumerians believed that even the most powerful gods could be tricked or charmed by clever mortals. Maybe that's why you find yourself smiling as an old woman offers you a crust of bread, her hand shaking, but her eyes bright with kindness. You accept it with a nod, tasting the warm tang of barley and salt on your tongue. For a moment, you are just a man sharing a meal with another soul who understands hunger. The temples loom in the distance, those towering ziggurats that scrape the sky built in your honor. You see the priests in their white robes, their voices weaving spells of devotion in the smoky air. But you feel closer to the children playing in the puddles, to the tired farmer wiping sweat from his brow as he leans on his hoe. They do not know your name, not really, but they feel your presence in the rain that blesses the fields and the wind that cools their faces. A young girl stops in front of you, her eyes wide and curious. "Who are you?" She asks, her voice as soft as the drizzle that still falls. You hesitate for a heartbeat, then smile. A traveler, you say. Just a traveler passing through. She giggles and skips away, leaving you standing in the echo of her laughter. You walk on your feet, carrying you through winding alleys and over ancient bridges. everywhere, you see the quiet miracle of life. And though you know you must soon return to your throne of clouds and starlight, you linger. Because there is something here, something worth remembering. The sun begins to break through the clouds, painting the wet stones with gold. You stand at the edge of a flooded field, watching the ripples dance across the water. And for a moment, you let yourself forget the weight of your crown, the endless prayers that rise to your name. For a moment, you are just a wanderer, marveling at the world that has always belonged to you, and yet never quite feels like it does. The morning light is soft as a prayer spilling over the city's mud brick walls and gilding the edges of every thatched roof. You walk among them still, each step echoing in the hush of dawn. Around you, life stirs back to motion merchants rolling up their awnings, children chasing the last scraps of night from the alleys, mothers coaxing coals back to life in clay ovens. Your feet take you to the temples, those towering stairways of baked earth that reach for the sky as though trying to steal a piece of your endless blue. The priests are already awake, their chants rising like the steam from morning bread. You watch them moving with solemn grace, sprinkling sweet beer over the altar, burning resin that curls in the air like the dreams of mortals. You stand in the courtyard unnoticed. The scent of burnt offerings and dust hangs heavy, a perfume of devotion. The temple is a testament to you, each brick a prayer, each carving a whisper of your name. But you see the cracks in the walls, the weary lines in the priests' faces. You see the truth behind the ritual. Faith is beautiful, but it is also fragile. Historians still debate whether these temples were built to please the gods or to keep them at bay. You know it's always been both. Mortals build their houses of worship from hope and fear in equal measure, and they sing to you not just for blessing, but for protection from the vast, uncaring night. A young priest approaches the altar, his hand steady despite the tremor in his heart. He lifts a bowl of beer, his voice trembling. "Anu, Father of the sky, we offer this to you." His words are as soft as the morning breeze, and for a moment you feel the weight of them small, but stubborn, like the first shoots of barley breaking through the mud. You watch as he pours the beer in a thin stream over the stones. The smell of yeast and river water fills the air, a humble offering to the vastness above. The priest does not see you. He sees only the sky, endless and unyielding. But you see him, and you see the quiet courage it takes to stand before the gods. Here's an odd fact to brighten the solemnity in ancient Sumer. The priests who brewed beer for the gods often sang silly little songs to keep the yeast happy. Imagine that divine brewing with a soundtrack of nonsense rhymes and laughter. Even the gods need a little levity, it seems. You drift closer to the altar, your gaze tracing the cracked lines in the ancient stone. Each fissure is a story. The floods that tested the walls, the summer suns that baked them hard and unyielding. Each crack is a promise that nothing lasts forever, not even temples built to honor the eternal sky. A woman kneels nearby, her hands pressed to the cold stone, her lips moving in a silent plea. She is not young, her hair streaked with silver, her back bowed by years of labor. But her faith is as fierce as any priest's. Her whispered words, a thread of connection between your sky and her small, stubborn life. You watch her Anu, and for a moment the weight of her prayer settles over you like a cloak. She asks for nothing more than another day of sun, another harvest, to feed the children she has raised and buried and raised again. She does not ask you to change the world, only to let it endure a little longer. The priests light fresh lamps, the flickering flames dancing like captured stars. Smoke rises sweet and bitter, weaving through the dawn air. You breathe it in the scent of devotion and desperation. And though you know you will soon return to your sky throne, for now you stand among them, just another shadow in the courtyard, listening to the quiet music of mortal faith. You let it fill you, the murmurs and the sighs, the rustle of robes and the soft crackle of burning resin. You let it remind you of why you watch from above, why you listen even when they think you're deaf to their prayers. Because in the end, every temple is built not just for the gods, but for the mortals who dare to believe that someone is listening. That night, sleep does not come easily. You sit beneath the eaves of a crumbling wall, watching the stars blink open one by one. They're quieter here, less like ornaments on your sky throne, and more like old friends. Each one flickers with familiar light, a slow pulse in the dark that reminds you how far you've come from your perch above the world. But even here, among these narrow streets and clay-slick courtyards, you feel the pull of something else. Something older, deeper. A vision slips beneath your thoughts like a cold tide. Water endless, rising, devouring. You see the fields of Sumer swallowed whole, the ziggurats crumbling beneath thick waves, the temples flooded their altars, drowning in silence. You see priests gasping for air, children clinging to rooftops, cities collapsing beneath the weight of the sky's fury. It's not a dream, it's a prophecy. You felt it brewing at the edge of your mind like a storm hesitating just past the horizon. Mortals would call it a warning, the gods would call it inevitability. You simply know the water is coming. Whether by divine will or cosmic order, the flood has already begun to whisper its way toward the land. Historians still debate whether the Sumerian Great Flood was fact or allegory, a memory of a river's rage, or a myth of divine rebuke. But you know that truths sometimes wear masks, and this one wears a tide. You wander through the city under the blanket of stars. The streets are quiet now, the fires burned low, the laughter gone to bed. But the river speaks. It always does. Tonight, it mutters like a man half asleep and half afraid, slurring the secrets of the deep. You pause at the riverbank. The water glistens under the moon, calm on the surface, but with something restless beneath. You can feel the ancient hunger in it, the pull to consume, to cleanse, to start over. This river has seen empires rise and rot, and it has no patience for delay. A crocodile drifts by in the shallows, its eyes catching the light. For a moment, it seems to look right at you, unblinking ancient. You remember when such beasts were worshipped as symbols of the gods' unknowable wrath. You remember sculpting them into myths with nothing but wind and will. Funny how much power something can have when it just refuses to blink. Here's a strange tidbit to keep you distracted. In early flood myths, some priests believed that the gods rode the waters, literally sailed across the heavens, on boats of cedar and lapis. The idea of divine beings paddling through chaos with paddles and divine snacks in tow. Well, even you have to admit, that's a bit much. But this flood, it doesn't feel like a journey. It feels like a reckoning. You stand on the bank, hands behind your back, gazing at the water as it laps at the toes of your sandals. The wind shifts. The air smells of silt and sorrow. The frogs have gone quiet, and even the moon seems to be holding its breath. The mortals don't know yet. They sleep blissfully unaware of what inches toward them, slow as forgiveness, silent as regret. But they will know. Soon. When the first of the fields refuse to dry. When the river no longer keeps its promise to return to its bed. You close your eyes. For a moment you listen not as a god, but as something older. The water whispers again, low and loving. It's time. You've always known that floods are not always punishment. Sometimes they're invitations. Sometimes, to rebuild, one must first allow the world to drown. You take a breath, and the sky above you darkens just a little. The assembly of gods is restless tonight, their voices rustling like dry reeds in a summer wind. In the hush of your sky throne, you feel the weight of Enki's approach. His presence is the cool relief of river water, a balm against the feverish storm in your mind. Histor stands before you, sea-green eyes, reflecting the flicker of distant stars. His robes shimmer like the depths of the Euphrates, and when he speaks, his words carry the hush of deep water. "Father," he says, and though his tone is gentle, there's steel beneath the surface. The flood you dream is too harsh a cure. You watch him, this son of yours, who has always walked the line between mortal and divine. Enki is the god of sweet waters, the trickster and the healer, the one who loves mortals perhaps more than he should. And tonight he dares to stand between you and the tide that waits. The rivers must rise, you say softly, the words tasting of rain and inevitability. The world is tired, Enki. It needs to be cleansed. You feel the echo of those words in your bones, an old truth that sings in the marrow of the sky. But even as you say it, you hear the doubt that threads through your resolve. Enki steps closer, his voice a murmur that only you can hear. Cleanse, yes, but not erase. Let them learn, Father. Let them grow. His hand gestures to the mortal world below, flickering lamps, drifting smoke laughter that rises like birdsong, even in the darkness. They are flawed, but they are trying. Historians still debate whether Enki's intervention was an act of defiance or of love, whether he was driven by compassion for mortals or by the sly delight of playing a dangerous game. You know it is both. For Enki, the line between mischief and mercy is always blurred. He kneels before you. His head bowed, the rivers murmur in every breath. Let me show them another way, he says. Give them a chance to survive, to remember. I will guide them. The air between you grows thick with the scent of river reeds and sweet beer. You remember when he was small, splashing in the shallows of creation, laughter bubbling like spring water. You remember the pride you felt in his cleverness, the way he shaped the flow of life like a potter with wet clay. And now he stands against you not as a child, but as a god in his own right. You lean back, letting the stars whisper their cold counsel. The other gods watch in wary silence. Inanna's eyes are bright with hope, Enlil's with thunderclouds, but it is Enki's voice that holds your attention steady. Sure, a ripple that might yet turn the tide. Here's an odd fact to lighten the weight of the night in the oldest tales. Enki was said to have invented the plow by accident, his way of saying that even the smallest misstep can become a gift. You wonder if this plea of his is another of those accidental gifts, a chance for mortals to prove themselves worthy of the world you shaped. You close your eyes, feeling the pulse of the river in his words. You see the children who play in the shallows, the women who knead bread with river water, the old men who lean on their staves to watch the tide rise. You see their lives brief as candle flames, but no less bright. When you open your eyes again, you see Enki not as a child or a trickster, but as something older, something that remembers why the sky was made to hold the stars, and why the river was made to cradle the earth. You nod just once. Show me, you say, and your voice is the hush of wind over water. Show me they are worth saving. Enki bows his hands pressed to the cool stone. In that moment, the river's song swells a promise woven in moonlight and river mud. The flood is coming, but so is the chance to rise above it. The sky above you is an endless canvas streaked with soft bands of indigo and silver. But even as the dawn teases the horizon, the weight of choice presses down on your shoulders like a cloak heavy with rain. You rise from your seat, your form both vast and formless. Sky, father cloud, shepherd, dreamer of the tides. The world below waits, holding its breath. The gods around you lean forward, their curiosity shimmering like heat above the sun-baked plains. You weigh their voices in your mind, each one a drop in the river of your thoughts. Inanna's tender plea, Enlil's thunderous doubt, Enki's gentle defiance. Each word is a thread pulling you back and forth across the loom of fate. Anu, Enki says softly, his voice calm as the river's lullaby. The flood is not a punishment, it is a cleansing. But let it be a chance, not an end. You watch him, your son of rivers and wisdom, and you see the flicker of hope in his eyes. For a moment, you almost envy his certainty. Mortals, gods, none of them ever seem to see the weight of the sky that you carry. Historians still debate whether you hesitated, whether there was a single instant when your hand hovered over the floodgates of the world, unsure of what to unleash. You know the truth. Even the sky must sometimes pause before the storm. A hush settles over the gathering. You feel the eyes of the gods on you, and beyond them, the silent prayers of the mortals who sleep uneasily beneath the shadow of rising waters. The river is restless tonight, its song a low murmur of hunger and promise. The air tastes of wet earth and the tang of fear. You close your eyes and let the wind sing to you, each just a voice in the endless council of the night. You see fields ready to drown cities bracing against the surge. But you also see hands clasped in prayer hearts that refuse to yield. Here's a strange little fact to soften the weight in some Sumerian hymns. It's said that Anu once laughed so hard at a mortal's foolish mistake that the stars themselves shook loose from the sky. You smile at the memory, a brief flash of light in the quiet storm of your thoughts. You lower your gaze to the world below. In the pale light of false dawn, the river glows like quicksilver, coiling through the land it has always claimed as its own. And in that shimmer, you see the faces of those who will stand or sink, each one a fragile spark of life. The decision is yours. No counsel can sway you now. You feel the weight of it settle into your bones, the kind of gravity that shapes mountains and crumbles cities. You take a breath, and the wind stills, waiting for the shape of your will. Let it come. You whisper your voice the hush of falling rain. But let them learn. Let them remember. The words ripple outward, carried on the breath of the sky. Enki bows his head, a flicker of relief in the lines of his face. The other gods watch in silence, their arguments spent, their hopes laid bare. The river answers your decision with a soft sigh, a promise, and a threat in one. It will rise as it has always risen, but it will also recede. In the end, The flood is neither mercy nor wrath. It is a mirror. It will show the mortals who they truly are. You stand for a moment longer, your form a shadow in the silver light. And then you turn back to the stars, the eternal companions of your solitude. Because even as the river surges forward, even as the flood claims what it must, you know that the sky endures. And you, Anu, will watch it all. The rain begins again that night, slow and relentless, as the ticking of a clock you can't quite see. It patters on the rooftops of Sumer's cities, seeps through the cracks in the temple walls, and whispers down the alleys like an old friend come to collect forgotten debts. You stand at the edge of the floodplain, the river's breath cool and heavy in your lungs. The water is rising inch by patient inch, and with it, the world seems to hold its breath. Lamps flicker in windows, tiny stars against the deepening dark. You hear the rustle of reeds bending beneath the weight of the wind, the low murmur of frogs, who know before any priest that change has come. The sky is a sheet of cloud, lit from within by occasional flashes of lightning silent as sighs. You stand in the hush between the thunder listening, always listening. The prayers tonight are not the sweet litanies of harvest or love. They are rougher, rawer, born of fear and stubborn hope. Anu, they murmur, voices muffled by the rain. Anu, Father of the sky, remember us. Historians still debate whether the flood was punishment or renewal, whether you wept for the lives swept away, or whether those tears were the rivers to claim. But tonight you know the sky weeps, because the world must be washed clean. But that doesn't make the loss any less sharp. You walk among them, again a shadow, with mortal feet. The mud sucks at your sandals, each step, a quiet reminder of how heavy even a god's heart can grow. You pass a family huddled beneath a broken roof, father-child. The child is singing softly a lullaby to keep the night at bay. It's a song you've heard before countless times across the centuries, but each time it catches at something deep inside you. Here's an odd fact to lighten the night. Some Sumerian mothers believe that tying a small clay figurine of a crocodile to a child's ankle would keep them safe from the river's pull, as if a handful of baked clay could hold back the tide. And yet you understand the need for such charms. Hope is a stubborn thing. The floodwaters lick at the steps of the temples now. The priests moving through the ankle-deep water with robes hitched high. Their chants waver, but they do not stop. Each word is a light in the dark, a defiance that even the river cannot wash away. You stand on the steps of a ziggurat, the water lapping at your toes. The cold seeps through your borrowed skin, but you do not flinch. Above you, the lamps flicker in the wind, their tiny flames dancing like memories. You feel the weight of every prayer, every whispered plea for mercy. The river has no mercy. It only has purpose. You close your eyes and let the rain wash over you, each drop a note in the oldest song you know. In the distance, the cries of children blend with the sigh of the river, a lullaby of loss and longing. The world is drowning, and in that drowning, something new is being born. For a moment you wonder if they understand, if they feel in their bones what you have always known, that nothing endures forever, not even the sky, that every flood is a reminder that life is precious precisely because it is fleeting. You open your eyes to the darkness and the river's soft, insistent murmur, and you stand there, a silent witness to the night's slow undoing as the world lets go of what it was to make room for what it might yet become. The river has crept higher, a patient thief in the dark. Streets once dry now glisten like sheets of obsidian, reflecting the flickering lamps of the stubborn few who refuse to leave. You stand at the edge of the city, watching the water weave through doorways, licking at hearthstones, testing the strength of every wall and every vow. You do not move to stop it. This is the choice you made, not to spare them the flood, but to let them find a way through it. To give them the chance to become something more than what they were. The mortals move like wraiths through the shallow water, carrying baskets of grain, bundles of children. Some wade with shoulders squared, faces set like stone. Others pause to stare at the river with hollow eyes, the weight of what's to come, too heavy for word. In the temple, the priests have lit every lamp they own, their glow a trembling promise that even in the dark, there is still light. Their chants echo through the stone halls, soft and sure, weaving around the crash of the rising water. Anu, they sing voices raw and beautiful. Anu, grant us one more dawn. You feel every word. In the hush of the rain, in the slow, patient surge of the river, you hear the question they don't dare to ask. Will we be remembered? Historians still debate whether the flood was a test of faith or a final act of cleansing. Whether the survivors carried forward the wisdom of the drowned, or just the hollow echo of their own grief. But you know that the answer is both, because in the end, survival is its own kind of prayer. Enki stands beside you, his form flickering between man and river, the scent of reeds and rain in his hair. He does not speak, but you feel his gaze steady as the current. He has kept his promise to guide them through, to show them the path hidden in the chaos. You watch as he moves among them, teaching them to build new homes on higher ground, to weave new songs from the tatters of the old. His laughter is soft and sad, like the river at twilight, but it carries the promise of renewal. Here's a curious little fact for you. Some old Sumerian fishermen claimed that after the floods, the fish sang in the shallows soft, wordless hymns to the returning light. You smile at the thought, even the smallest life finds a way to praise the dawn. The water's edge is a blurred line now. The river and the world merging like dream and memory. You stand with your toes in the cold current, feeling its pulse beneath your borrowed skin. You see the way the children cling to their mothers' backs, how the men move with quiet resolve, building rafts and dreams in equal measure. This is not an end. You see that in their eyes, in the trembling hands that refuse to let go of what matters, in the prayers that still rise even when the wind steals the words before they can take shape. You nod a small gesture lost in the darkness. But it is enough, a promise to yourself as much as to them that you will watch and you will remember, that even the flood cannot wash away the light in their hearts. And when the dawn finally comes, because it always does, you will be there, in the hush before the first bird sings, to see what they have made of the world you gave them. The night is endless. So it seems. But in the small hours when the rain pauses to catch its breath, there is a silence that feels like the world holding its heartbeat still. In that silence, the mortals whisper. Their voices are low, threadbare, as though speaking too loudly might shatter the fragile hope they cling to. You drift among them, like a memory, your feet barely stirring the water that laps at their ankles. In doorways and temple courtyards, they gather around flickering lamps, their faces washed in golden light. Mothers hush wailing children. Fathers clutch amulets of clay and stone. Small charms meant to keep the river at bay. Anu they whisper, some with reverence, some with the cracked edge of desperation. Anu, hear us. You hear them. Every word is a ripple in the river of your thoughts. Every breath a prayer you will not ignore. But you do not answer with thunder or the sudden hush of rain. You answer with silence, a patient listening, a promise that they are not alone in this night. In the far corner of a courtyard, a boy sits with his knees pulled to his chest, his lips moving in a prayer he does not know how to finish. You kneel beside him, the weight of your presence, a hush rather than a burden. He does not see you as you truly are, but he feels the comfort of the air around him, the warmth of the sky's gaze. Historians still debate whether the prayers of mortals could sway the hearts of gods, or whether the gods simply waited for mortals to find their own strength. But you know the truth tonight, that it is in these whispered prayers, fragile and trembling, that the world is remade. You watch the priests moving through the night, their chants weaving through the dark like silver threads. The temple walls flicker with the shadows of flame, the smell of incense, soft and bitter in the wet air. In every breath, every whispered plea, there is a kind of courage that even the gods must pause to honor. Here's a small, odd thing to lighten the heaviness. Did you know that some Sumerians believed that prayers spoken during storms carried more weight, that the roar of the wind and the sigh of the rain could lift their words higher, straight to the ears of the sky? You smile at the thought how even in the flood, mortals find ways to believe their voices matter. You stand in the doorway of a small house, its reed roof sagging under the weight of the storm. A woman kneels at the threshold, her hands pressed to the cold earth, her forehead bowed. "Let my children see another spring," she whispers. "Let the river's hunger pass them by." You see the lines of worry etched deep around her eyes, the quiet defiance in the set of her shoulders. You see the lamp flickering at her feet, the flame stubborn as her prayer. And you understand in that moment that this is what you chose to protect. Not the walls of cities, not the pride of kings, but the quiet, persistent light of those who refuse to let the darkness take everything. The river sighs in the distance, patient and unhurried. The water is still rising, but so are they, these mortals with their prayers and their trembling faith. You see it in the way they share bread in the dark, the way they sing soft songs to calm their children, the way they cling to one another when the night seems endless. You stand watch, silent as the stars, and you wait for the dawn, because you know, as they do, that even the longest night must end. And when the first light breaks the edge of the sky, it will find them still here, their prayers like seeds, sown in the wet earth, ready to bloom. The dawn is slow to come. It seeps into the sky like a secret, brushing the clouds with pale light, before the sun dares to climb the horizon. The rain has spent itself, and the river's song has grown quiet, no longer a roar, but a soft murmur that slides between broken walls and reed-choked fields. You stand on the highest tier of the ziggurat, the city spread out below you like a map of dreams and ruin. The floodwaters glimmer in the dawn light, silver and gold, as they slip through streets that have become rivers. From here, you can see it all, the stubborn lamps still burning in half-submerged doorways, the fishermen's boats tied to rooftops, the children who splash barefoot in the shallows laughing as though the world has never known fear. You feel the warmth of the rising sun on your borrowed skin, and for a moment, you let yourself believe in the promise it carries. A promise that life always finds a way to bloom, even in the aftermath of the storm. Enki joins you, his face carved from the river's patience, his eyes reflecting the soft dawn light. "It is done," he says, and in his voice is both relief and weariness. "They will rebuild. They will remember." You nod, the weight of the night still heavy in your bones. And the river, you ask, though you already know the answer. "It will rest." Enki says, his smile small and tired. For now. Historians still debate whether the dawn after the flood was truly a new beginning or just another turn of the endless wheel. But you see the truth in the way the mortals move, in the way they carry their children and their stories across the water's silver skin. They have survived, and in that survival is something stronger than any god's decree. You watch as a young boy pushes a makeshift raft through the flooded streets, his laughter bright as the morning. A woman leans from a window, tossing him an apple that gleams red as a promise. The boy catches it, his grin wide and fearless. And in that moment, you see it, the fragile, stubborn spark that will carry them forward. Here's a curious little fact to keep you company. Some Sumerian scribes wrote that the first rays of dawn were tears shed by the gods for what was lost. You wonder if that's true, if the sky weeps for the drowned and the saved alike. You think perhaps that it does. The sun climbs higher, and the city shivers in its light. The priests emerge from the temples, their chants softer now, no longer the desperate cries of the night, but songs of thanksgiving and resolve. They wade through the water with their robes hitched high, their voices weaving through the hush like silver threads. You stand silent, your gaze tracing the lines of the city, its wounds and its hopes. The flood has not washed them away. If anything, it has carved them deeper, like the river carves the bedrock of the earth. And from those cracks, something new will grow. You let the warmth of the sun seep into you, washing away the last chill of the night. And in that quiet moment, you understand why you watched, why you waited. Because even the sky must bow to the gentle, stubborn promise of dawn. You turn your eyes to the horizon, where the light bleeds into the pale blue of morning. The flood will recede, the river will return to its bed, and the world will find its balance again. And you, Anu, will return to your sky throne, carrying with you the memory of this dawn, this fragile, stubborn, beautiful dawn. The sun climbs higher, and with it, the world begins to move. You stand at the edge of the city, the floodwaters glinting like hammered silver in the dawn light. Around you, the air smells of wet earth and sweet smoke, the perfume of survival. The mortals have begun to emerge from their shelters, blinking like owls in the pale morning. They wade through the shallows, their laughter hushed but real. Children chase driftwood boats across the flooded courtyards. Women haul baskets of grain, their shoulders squared beneath the weight. Men lash reeds together to patch the roofs that still stand. To their hands steady, their voices low, you watch them all, silent as the sky. In every small gesture, a smile shared, a loaf of bread broken, a song hummed under breath. You see the truth. You've always known that life is more stubborn than the flood, and more patient than the river's hunger. Enki stands beside you, his feet sinking into the soft mud. His smile is small, but it's enough. They will remember. He says the rivers sigh in every word. They will carry this forward. You nod, though the weight in your chest feels heavier than your sky throne ever did. The flood was never meant to be the end. It was a test, a mirror, a promise. And now in the hush of the morning, you see that promise taking shape in the children's laughter, in the quiet resolve of the priests, in the whispered prayers of those who have lost everything except the stubborn light in their eyes. Historians still debate whether Anu ever truly wept for mortals, whether the sky itself can know sorrow. But as you stand there, your toes in the cold receding flood, you feel it a soft ache in the center of your being, an echo of the pain and the hope that thrums in every mortal heart. Here's an odd little truth to carry with you. In the oldest Sumerian tales, it said that every time a mortal sings at dawn, the sky leans just a little closer to listen. You find yourself leaning just a little closer to hear the soft songs that rise from the ruined doorways. You turn back to the horizon, where the river winds away in slow silver curves. The waters will recede, leaving behind a memory of silt and sorrow, but also of renewal. You feel the tug of the sky throne calling you home, your place above the clouds, your seat among the stars. But for this moment you linger. You let the morning light wash over you, let the laughter of children fill the hollow spaces of your chest. Because even the sky must learn to listen. Even the sky must remember. The world begins again as it always does, and you, Anu, will watch. Because that is your purpose, your promise to see, to remember, to keep the memory of this dawn alive, long after the flood has become nothing more than a story whispered in the quiet hours of the night. You take a slow breath, the air rich with the scent of wet clay and blooming life. The sky is bright, the river is quiet, and the world, for this brief moment, is at peace. And you, Anu, the silent watcher of the ages, stand ready to begin again. The story of Anu, the ancient Sumerian sky god, unfolds across 15 interconnected moments, each a glimpse into a world where divine will meets mortal struggle. In these whispered hours, you, Anu, descend from your sky throne to witness the quiet defiance of the mortals who live and love beneath your watchful gaze. The flood you dream of is not just a punishment, but a test. A chance for the world to cleanse itself and start anew. You hear their prayers woven from fear and hope. You watch the priests chant their robes heavy with river water and determination. You walk among the reed-roofed homes, the children's laughter rising like fragile dawn light. And in each small act of courage, you find a reason to let the floodwaters recede. As the river claims its due and the temples sigh beneath the weight of water, you see Enki's gentle defiance, his plea that mortals be given another chance. You weigh his words against the endless hush of the sky and find in them a melody of mercy. When the storm passes and the dawn breaks across the silvered fields, you see that mercy made real. Mortals battered but unbowed building again from the river's edge. Their songs rise in the quiet morning, a hymn of survival that even the gods cannot ignore. And so you return to your sky throne, not as a distant deity, but as a witness to their endless, stubborn dance of life. In their whispered prayers and dawn-lit songs, you find the promise that the world will endure,